guys.
Yeah.
And I had so much fun with this movie. So just to set the table, as it were, Destroy All Neighbors is the movie. We're here with Jonah Ray, Rodriguez, Josh Forbes, and Alex Winter.
Hey.
Appreciate you guys taking the time. I gotta jump right to the obvious question. I gotta imagine a movie like this, it's such a delicate balance on the craziness and there's so much going on in it. When you read a script like this, what makes you say this is one I can really make this much fun? This is something I want to be involved in.
Well, to start, it's the best thing about it is that it's a script we've been developing, yeah, as a group for a long time, and so, I mean, that's what's awesome about Alex and Jonah, is that we all share very similar tastes. I think, we're coming at it from different directions, but yeah, we were able to kind of make it ours, and Shudder let us, which is amazing.
Yeah, Shudder is I love Shudder. They've been doing the Lord's work for the last few years, and they put out so much great stuff. But this is such a I don't want to say it's a love letter to these things, but it really just felt like early Peter Jackson, early Sam Raimi. The practical effects. Alex, number one, huge fan for a very long time. It's a
Oh,
it's
thank
a
you.
real pleasure to talk to you. But watching this and all of the appliances you had on, all the effects you were wearing throughout the film, is that what does that do to your performance? Is it freeing? Like you get to, just let loose fully, or is it a hindrance?
No, I mean the makeup, especially now, is really light, so you
Mhm.
don't actually feel it. You can often forget you have it on. It's very, very light. It can get hot, and we were shooting in the dead of summer in downtown LA, so we all had, but it was hot for everybody. Like it wasn't just me. I mean, it was hot for Jonah. It was hot for everybody. And Jonah's in like every scene, so he's just constantly baking in light, like in a Betty Crocker oven. But it is actually pretty comfortable. It's time consuming to get it on and off. I think some actors like acting in prosthetics and some don't. I came up in theater and I very much do. So I find it performance wise very liberating. You just become a different person. And that's what's fun about doing it.
Awesome, awesome. So, on that same note, everything's so much CG. Even for the last 25 years now, I guess. It's still jarring in the best of ways to see a movie like Destroy All Neighbors that really does. Let's call it what it is, the hard work to use practical effects. So, and I guess Josh, this is really a question for you, but also for Alex and Jonah. The we're using practical effects. There's so much real stuff that has to be reset and done every single take. Just tell me a little bit about what your process is in choosing where to use practical effects, how much that means to you, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because first off, like the character of Vlad, for whatever reason, I always had in my head that he would be a prosthetic character. Like, I just love, I love like the Garbage Pail Kids movie, and like I love, these Leprechaun, or these things where it's like something's existing in physical space, but there's just something uncanny about it.
Mhm.
And the way that Gabe Bartalo sculpted it, and that Bill Corso did the makeup, was just like just better and more iconic than I could ever imagine. So once we had Vlad in place, it was like, let's you know let's figure out how many cool, crazy gags we can pull off, and with that kind of ethos of like, let's keep it as practical as possible. I mean, there's definitely like some CG stuff towards the end, or like, we use some CG to like do puppet removal and stuff, but I
Mhm.
don't know. It's practical is just always better. It's not always easier, um, but it stands the test of time. Like you watch the thing now, and it still looks awesome. But like,
Right.
because it's just there in the room. Like whereas even with CG, it's like, even if you're doing something awesome today, 5 years from now, it's going to look not as good as the new state of the art. Um,
There's
but yeah,
something
we just
about
we,
that
yeah, we
though.
just love that.
It's something like Josh, what you're kind of saying. It's harder now, I think, to do practical because of the HD, high resolution quality of the cameras. Like back in the day, a lot of these guys were able to cut. They're like, well, it's going to be blurry, or it's going to be a little blown out because we're going to take this 16, millimeter and blow it up to 32. It's like, I'm sure if we saw some of those things like up-resed to 4K now, we'd be like, eek. It's like you can see the themes. Like, I was even watching
That's a great point.
like an up-res California on Pluto, and like it's like there's a part where Brad Pitt has like a black eye, but you can see the edges of the makeup and like the prosthetics. And I was like, oh yeah, like we weren't supposed to see the strings.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we weren't even really technically supposed to be able to pause it at any point. There's so many things from the movies back then. But that's actually the point. I guess that speaks to your effects guys even more is, how good everything looked. Even the puppets, you get the charred skeleton puppet, the I guess I'll say the intestine playing drums puppet, it all looked so good. None of it looked fake or put together. Obviously it had the feeling of a puppet, but that's a real testament to them. I think that was, one of the biggest achievements that you guys had on this film is just how good all of that looked and how true to, we'll just say the 80s it was in how everything went through there. So Jonah, what for your part, I mean, it's kind of jarring hearing you talk here because your character in the movie is so kind of reserved and held back but also on the edge of his sanity throughout the entire thing. What's that like acting with not just puppets but puppets like that? I mean, sitting across from Kermit the Frog is one thing, but a charred skeleton in a mortuary, that's another thing.
I do feel that my seasons on Mystery Science Theater 3000 kind of prepped me for being able to have a connection with an inanimate object. And there's something, you always hear these stories of like really good puppeteers where it's like you'll be talking to someone and then they'll bring up Kermit or they'll bring up Tom Stover or something like that, and you stop looking at them. You just like the puppeteers are such amazing performers that you don't even notice them anymore. You just like connect with the thing. So it's like it was in my wheelhouse to be able to like make eye contact with something that is that has no soul.
Yeah, I totally spaced on that. That's right. So I guess the practice work there really helped out. The color palette, and I know it might be a weird thing to bring up, but that was another thing that really struck me. The color palette for this movie, it was very saturated, I guess is the word. There's a lot of bright pinks. It was kind of like your shirt, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So was there any specific homage going on there? Anything you took that from, or is it just what worked best? Or?
Well, I mean, I come from the music video world, so I'm already used to. I like I like using color. I mean, I'm a big whatever like Mario Bava fan or whoever. I mean, we tried to, and we tried using a couple different color palettes, like in Williams' like bedroom, it was kind of like more reds and or more like greens and yellows, I think. And then in Vlad's, it was like purples and blue. Like, so we wanted to have these sort of like contrasting color palettes. But yeah, I mean, what's funny is that our DP Will Stone, he's not a horror guy. Like, he doesn't really like horror movies. Or he hadn't seen Evil Dead 2, for example. But to me, that was kind of nice. It was kind of a nice conscious choice. That was, my thought process was like, okay, well, if Will can make this look like a serious movie, hey, Will, you're making a David Fincher movie, and we're making this Sam Raimi movie, and hopefully the two will gel.
Right.
Because I hate when I don't know, when somebody's doing like a horror comedy and they lean too far into the schlocky, trying to copy the 80s or make it, have a bad kooky film grain or something. So it was very intentional that like, okay, let's really lean into our strengths here and try and make a grown up movie, but we're all kids.
Well, that's the dance that I was referring to at the beginning of our conversation, that so many people try and they just fall right off the other edge. And I think I know we're coming up on time here, but I think you guys really nailed it. There's only been a few movies in the last 10 years that have gone for this type of film and really hit it the way you guys did. So just love the movie.
Thanks,
I really appreciate the time talking to you guys, and I wish you all the success in the world.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was great to talk to you.
Guys.
Yeah.
You too.
Get
Have a good day.
get back to work. There's a stack of. There's a stack of
I
videos.
got a Basic Instinct just came in. I got to put it away. So we'll
Yeah.
see you guys later.
All right, Stan.
Pause it.